Hello everyone, this is General Hand Grenade and... Callie Hand Grenade? General Hand Grenade and Callie Hand Grenade, coming to you from the War Room in Prince George, British Columbia, as we inch ever closer to the release of Global War 1914. I know I promised to have this video out a couple weeks ago, but I'm a bad monkey. I was so busy and I just couldn't get to it. And truth be told, I don't have much time today either. So Callie's going to help me out and we're just going to try to whiz through this. It's not going to be a really detailed video. It's not going to be one of my hour-long specials, right? It's just going to be a quick thing, and then I will give you a couple of documents that you can download or just look at them on the internet. You don't have to print them off if you don't want. But anyway, it'll give you a good idea of how many units that you need to play Global War 1914. And be advised that you can do it in several different ways, right? Like me, you know me, I like to play with little plastic army men, right? So I will have a different unit and a custom infantry and things like that for different kinds of units. But all you really need is just for your infantry class, you just need infantry units, and then you get the different types of chips that go underneath them. That would be the cheapest way to play. And you know, like if you don't have the money, you can even use your 36 pieces for this. You know, like you'll use your artillery and your infantry units. You probably got mountain infantry. There's a lot of things that are common in this game, in the 36 game, like militia and mountain infantry and things like that. Anyway, so let's just get to it. Let's take a look at this is on MediaFire. You'll download it. I'll put a link in the description box of the video. So it's not fancy. Like I said, I'm busy and everything. So it's just gonna, like, it tells you the nations along the top here, and then the units beside them there, and at the bottom there's the number of roundels. Now this list comes from the play testing that we did, and we kept track constantly of how many things were on the board. And when I say we, I mean Bob. I was going to do it too, but he was doing it. I did it once, and it's such a pain in the butt to have to do that, right? Like after every round, write down how many roundels are on the board and things like that. So when you see roundels there, that means the roundels that you need on the board, plus the ones that you're going to need for the tech chart and the income tracker. So that's total roundels that you'll need, or that we did anyway. And I tried to keep the roundels to groups of 5, because that's how you purchase them, is in groups of 5, right? So I might have rounded up on some of them. Anyway, you can see like infantry, militia, colonial troops, naval infantry, mountain infantry, trench fighters, elite units. So all of those, you could just use the same sculpt for if you want. And just use the different chips underneath, or you can be like that nutball up in Prince George there, General Hand Grenade, and just go nuts with it all, right? Let's just take a look at this. What are you laughing at, Callie? Don't make me come over there. I've got a stick, you know. Oh, you've got a stick too. Uh-oh. This could get bad. Okay, so anyway, like I've just got my regular infantry and I'm using custom infantry, right? You can use whatever you want. You can use the Axis and Allies Germans if you want. Then I've got militia. Militia are for your home country. I've probably got way too many militia here for the Germans, but you'll see that. Like, let me see, what did I list there? 8 of them for Germany, right? Like there's just not as many countries in territories in the home country that you would put them in. But colonial troops, like some of them you'll need lots. Germany, Britain, France especially need a lot of colonial troops. Then you've got your trench fighters. My trench fighters come from a bunch of sets and they've got gas masks on them. You don't need many of them. So like if you were just going to use chips, you don't need to glue them to the chips. You probably will never see more than 5 or 10 of those on the board at the same time. And that's everywhere on the board, because mostly where you'll see trench fighters is just on the Western Front. You're not going to see any of them in Asia and things like that. Even places where you might have a trench pop up, which means that you'll have 6 or more infantry class units on defense. That doesn't mean that people are going to build trench fighters. That just means that they might build them, right? So then you got your naval infantry. If you were just using your 36 pieces, that's the same as a Marine, okay? And of course, mountain troops are the same as mountain troops. I just use the mountain troops that HBG has. And then you've got your elite units. And for the Germans, that happens to be the Jaegers. Germans and Austrians use Jaegers. All of them are infantry units for all of the different nations except for the Russians. The Russians have Cossacks, which is a cavalry unit. But, like I said, all you really need to do is buy some of these elite chips. And again, like if that's all you were going to do and you weren't going to glue them on, then I bet you 15, maybe at the very most 20 elite units on the board at the same time, and that would be a lot. So, like if you're going to break it up and you're going to glue them on, then, you're obviously going to need more chips, right? These are just something that, like I've got some stormtroopers. That's not part of the game. That's something we talked about doing a year or two ago, and we never really finished that off. So let's take a look at these other Germans here. So tanks. Like I've got lots of tanks here just because there is a lot of different types of tanks. But really, like, let me see what I got for Germans. I think I've only got 3 German tanks on there. Because remember, you're going to want to use chips underneath everything, right? Europe's going to get crowded, and so Germany's not going to need many tanks. Probably the Germans, the French, the British, those might be the only tanks you ever see in this game. So when I've listed, I might have listed 1 or 2 for the other nations, just in case your friend Crazy Bob comes over and has to buy himself a tank, right? Like that's a technology that you've got to develop before you can build tanks. So, it's not something that you'll typically see. You're going to need lots of artillery and less heavy artillery. But heavy artillery, probably every nation will need at least 1 or 2 heavy artillery, but it's expensive, right? Lots of artillery in this game though. And then of course you've got your fighters. I got my little Red Bear, and you might have seen a video I did on that a while back. Cavalry. Cavalry's quite handy in this game because you can put them on without factories. You can put them on your manpower markers, so they're handy. Not everybody is going to need a lot of camels. It's basically nations that are near deserts, and so the British, the French, and the Germans, and I guess the Italians and the Ottomans, they're fighting over Africa, so they'll need more camels than the rest of them, and you'll see the numbers when you download the sheets or look at the sheets. Not a lot of strategic bombers or seaplanes. The British, of course, just like the 36 game, will probably use more seaplanes because the German subs will be active. And seaplanes are actually a pretty decent unit in this game when you consider the rest of the air power in this game is pretty anemic, right? What are you waving your stick at? Don't make me come over there. Callie wants me to just go beat the wheels off of her. What are you laughing at? Won't be so funny once okay, so cruisers, like Germans are going to need a lot of cruisers, for instance, because there's these things called cruiser raiders, right? So I didn't put these chips down, but you'll probably need, like I didn't put a lot of the chips down. There's just these raider chips. What'll happen is you can split 1 German cruiser into 2 German raiders. So basically you'll take 2 of your cruisers and 2 of these chips, and then you can split them up and move them off. And they kind of work like submarines. Like you can hunt them down, but they're really hard to kill because basically they're hard to catch. And we simulate that by using modifications in the dice, right? Like it's hard to hit them. You're going to find that you don't use a lot of airships. The Germans have Zeppelins. Everybody else has airships. They're basically the same thing. There's just one number that's different in them. You'll use more balloons though, because balloons will boost your artillery up. Now there are chips that you can get that say airships on them, and that might be the way you go. And if you do, again, you could just use a pool for everybody, right? You're not going to paint a chip that says airship on them. But if you're like me and you like to do this, then these are available on the website. You can buy these, and then you can paint them in your colors. I've also got magnets on them so that they're flying, right? Just like the Zeppelins. Anyway, there's that. And the strategic bombers, I haven't seen anybody purchase any strategic bombers in the game. But again, Crazy Bob's coming over at some point in time, right? So you're going to need those. There's only one capital ship in the game, and that's the Dreadnought. The Germans and the British especially are going to use lots of Dreadnoughts because, again, it's the only one. Pre-Dreadnoughts you'll find that the opening setup has lots of them. And torpedo boat destroyers, tons of torpedo boat destroyers in the game, as you can see from the list. The Ottoman and the Austrians don't have many boats, and they're not going to have much money to buy boats either. So what you see in the opening setup, like, there's not much more than that on there. Anyway, like you'll see from the list that that's all there is. I've got trucks here, but that's just because we tried play testing and tried to figure out something with trucks, and we just, maybe in version 2 someday trucks will enter the game, but for now they're not. Now neutrals, you know how in 36 I and a lot of people really have painted their neutrals all different colors. For me, the only ones I've painted a different color than white are the Greeks, but you don't even need to do that. I just decided to do that because they were a part of the prequel, right? Now, specifically speaking, they were part of the Balkan War. Now, I just painted them all white. I found that works good, especially with the diplomacy in the game. I just need to look around. Oh, there's a big pile of white. Go over there and see, okay, that's Argentina. I'm going to try to diplomatically influence Argentina. But anyway, you'll see the list of all the whites that you need. Now, one of the things is the Russian Civil War. So when you look at the chart that I gave, I put neutral/white army. By the time the Russian Civil War starts, a lot of these units will have come off the board, right? Either they will have been attacked or they will be diplomatically influenced. So that gives you a lot of extra white units. So that's what I use for the white army. And there's just a couple of pieces that you need besides these. Like, for instance, there is no armored trains that you need for the neutrals, but you'll probably need an armored train for the white army. So I threw one of those in there. Anyway, that's the easiest way to do the white army's not going to need any boats. So whatever it says for boats, that's all there is. They're in the opening setup, and you're not going to be purchasing any for the neutrals, of course. So if you're going to do anything, like, it's going to be what is that? What is the term I'm looking? Get out of here! Callie's trying to punch me here. Anyway, shut up. So now you made me lose my train of thought. You might add the odd neutral, but that will be when you roll the dice, right? Like when somebody controls them. I can't even think of the word now. Get out of here. Anyway, so what I didn't do in this list here is I didn't put down the Russian Civil War or the prequel. Now the prequel, there's the Balkan War, and there is the Mexican Civil War. So I've got Mexican Civil War pieces here, but you don't need them. Like, you can just, like, you're using the Germans and the Americans to fight that. You can just use German and American pieces if you want. And then, like, once that conflict is over, then replace whoever won with white units, like, or like if they've been aligned, then they will be German or Americans. And then later on you can get the ones. But the reason I didn't do the Russian Civil War, like, you can see how many different chips and everything that you need. You've got Polish, you've got Finnish. What else do you have? Oh, sorry, that's the Greeks there. There's the Finns, the Poles, and of course the Ukrainians. Lots of Ukrainians, right? And lots of roundels. So I didn't add that because we're thinking about when we put the Russian Civil War out, maybe selling that separately. And if we do, then like you'll get all the chips, and not sure yet if you'll get all the units. And that's why I didn't bother writing it down, so that you wouldn't have to purchase the units twice. Now, I don't know if that's what's going to happen or not. That's not my department, right? I'm just the goof that plays with little plastic army men on the internet. Anyway, so but there's lots of different chips that you're going to need from that. Baltic sailors and black armies and Macno armies and all kinds of stuff that you need for that. And so I didn't write all that down. I will let you know if we're not going to put out a set, what you're going to need for the Russian Civil War. I did put a separate thing for China. China has a lot of warlords and stuff, but they're not going to expand, right? Like I put enough down for whatever territories they had, if they had 2 territories or if they had 3 territories. And like Tibet only has 1 territory, right? So Tibet, and they're not going to leave Tibet. They're not a warlord. It's the 13th Dalai Lama that's leading Tibet at the time of the First World War, and all they want is just to be left alone. So they're not going to expand at all. They're not going to attack anybody. They're just going to defend their territory. But like the Ennui here, the Ennui has 3 territories. So I've got 3 militia and 3 infantry, things like that, 3 roundels. And then there's the other ones. I would paint them all different colors if you can, just because you don't want to get them mixed up, and China's kind of crowded. But again, you can use white ones if you want, and then use a different color for your nationalists, like I'm using the slime green there for the nationalists. And anyway, yeah, that's so I did put a separate chart down for China. Again, they're not going to be buying any boats, so they start with a cruiser and a torpedo boat destroyer. That's not going to change. It's not going to get any bigger, or probably not any smaller either. I suppose Japan could attack them if they go Central Powers, but that's really a waste of the Japanese boats. Knowledge. The more you know. Anyway, so another thing, like chips. I didn't write the chips down. Like I think that it's likely we'll come out with a set of that kind of stuff. But some of the ones that are unique to this game, like your import chips, you don't see in the 36 version 3 game. Poison gas, and of course I showed you the Raider chips for the Germans. And then the other things that you need are stuff that you will already have for your 36 game. So like the things are printed on the map, the bases and everything, right? But you might need, like some more ports. Maybe you want to upgrade this one to a major. So of course you need some chips to do that, right? Or to build a new port, or a new shipyard, or a new dockyard. And then of course your railway chips and your damaged railway chips. There's 3D pieces for those now. Now these are kind of cool. Look at the size of these. Like this is a roundel, right, that you're used to. One of the things we did is getting crowded on our thing there. Look at the size of these chips. These are for your chart, your diplomacy chart. They're smaller. Like these are 3/4 inch, these are 1/2 inch, and I put little magnets on them. So that'll be in a set as well, right? I think that's probably going to come with the core game, because that's you do need a diplomacy chart, and you do need the roundels. You can't play without them, right? So that'll probably be a part of the core game. Again, though, not my department, so take what I say with a grain of salt. This is just what I think you're going to need. Yeah, and then as far as the other, like, you don't need all the different neutral chips. I've got them like these just because I had them from the diplomacy chart. We were using the bigger ones, right? But you don't need to put all those on the board. It just kind of crowds it. You can if you want. And then of course they have these other kind of things, like that'll be an upgrade if you want to do that. Like you wanted to buy some colonial roundels for the French and for the British, and for the other nations, the Germans and whoever else needs them. But you know, like you don't really need them. You can just use French and British roundels for those, and you're not going to need to put them on there anyway. It's just the territories you're going to take over that you need to put a roundel on, right? So what else? I think that's it. You know, did I show you trains? I think we're gonna. Doug was searching around. He's gonna find another train. Most of the pieces that I have are 3D printed. The plastic is not ready yet. I think he might have found a person to do plastic for him. And I did show you in a recent video that we've got the build plates out. Wait until you see. I can see them. They're over right beside me here, but I'm not going to show them to you until I'm ready. I'm waiting for another set. But I'm talking about the task force markers. Absolutely gorgeous. Here, I'll show you something real quick, okay? See, isn't that really cool? What are you laughing at? Don't make me come over there.
They won't be able to see it.
I know. There will be a video. They are in the dark. Anyway, task force markers. We're working on everything for the game. We're working on all of that stuff. And the map, he tells me 3 weeks, which I think it means 3 months, but just because I've been waiting for a while. But we'll see. And the card decks, we have a couple of card decks made up for China and for Russia. So like I was talking about the Russian thing, that deck would probably come with that, because you don't have to play the Russian Revolution in this game. You can play it much like the version in Axis and Allies 14, where you say, okay, these guys are in revolution, and so Russia just kind of disappears from the game. You take all their shit off the board, and there you go, right? But way more fun to put the stuff on. But like, that's something you're going to want to do if there's 3 people, right? Because the Soviets will be a different faction, right? They're not the Russians anymore. They're the Soviets, and they can actually win the game. And so you really do need 3 people if you're going to play the Russian Civil War. But the cool thing about this game is that you can actually play this game with 2 people, unlike the 36 game. I mean, people play it with 2 people, but it really is not meant for 2 people. That's a 3-person game at the minimum. And but this one, again, like I said, you can play it with 2. Anyway, I will put those put that document. There's 2 pages there. I will put that in the description box so that you can start building your armies if you'd like. And later on, we'll let you know how we're going to sell this thing. Like, you know, like as far as the markers and things that you need, I'm sure we'll put together sets of stuff like that. And some of the stuff will be coming with the core game because you need it to play the game, like the cards for China, things like that. Anyway, that's all I got for you today. What do you got for us? Wisdom. No, show us some wisdom. Wisdom.
No, you need to say Happy Canada Day because Canada Day.
Oh, yeah. Happy Canada Day tomorrow, people. That's tomorrow. And then America's birthday is on Monday, I believe. It's on the 4th. So, happy 4th of July to my friends down in America. Do you have any friends in America?
Nah.
Do you have any friends in Canada besides your grandpa?
Yeah.
You've got a friend. She's coming out to the lake this weekend.
Yeah, Kaden.
Or are we going to go for a boat ride?
Maybe if you have gas.
What do you mean if I have gas?
No, but like for like the boat.
Well, we're not taking the boat to the lake without gas. What kind of dumbass thing would that be to do? Would you take? That's what you would do. That's why you got no friends except for one of them.
No,
because you don't know how to buy gas.
At school and at daycare, but that's only because I have to go there every day.
What happened when I picked you up from school on your last day of school the other day? Did I bring a CD with me?
Oh yeah, it's at the School's Out for Summer one.
By Alice Cooper?
Alice Cooper, yeah.
Yeah, we done that the last 2 years. So when she grows up and tells people about her grandpa, my grandpa, he was really weird. He played with Little Plastic Army Men on the internet, and every year he picked me up and play Alice Cooper. I don't know. we had to drive away from the school before we cranked that one up.
For
The summer. Anyway, gotta go, everyone. So, take care, everyone. General Hand Grenade and
Callie.
Callie Hand Grenade out.